Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to the Soul Said So channel, and it's time for our weekly soul chat. And boy, do I got something to talk about. Now, what we're talking about this week is talking about not forcing outcomes and just reminding you that you cannot force them, even if you do try to force them. And this is a topic for me that has been extremely frustrating. I didn't realize that I was forcing outcomes. My process of pulling anything into my life has always looked like me understanding what that thing was and just going hard behind it no matter what it looked like, to the point of burning myself out, to the point of bringing myself into complete depletion. Okay, and here's the thing: there's a complete difference in forcing something to happen and allowing something to unfold by putting in the appropriate actions. I was doing both. Doing the appropriate action, but then also forcing. And what does forcing even look like? I mean, it's different for everybody else, but I felt like I realized that I was forcing a lot of things in my life because I was not sleeping, I was not eating, I was not taking care of myself. If it was not that thing, I couldn't even think, let alone focus on anything else. It was like all or nothing. And I know we all have ambitions, aspirations, goals, and desires where we are telling ourselves that as long as I am putting in the work and I am showing up, these things are going to come into my life. It's going to be, sooner or later. They're going to be here. They're going to be mine. While I'm not saying that that is not wrong, I do want you to check yourself, because even the purest of intentions can turn into idolization over something. And idolization means that you are, one, not attached. You are fully trying to control that process and what that looks like and how it moves. And unfortunately, what happens is when something shifts or pivots in a way that we didn't expect or that we weren't planning for, then that triggers a lot of fear on the inside of us. So now every single action and movement that we do afterwards is a fear-based emotion or a fear-based reaction. And what's happening in that process is you're now operating out of lack. You're not operating out the abundant, creative person that you are. You're operating out of scarcity, out of fear that something's not going to work out for you, out of fear that something may go wrong, out of fear that you may mess up. Okay. And fear is very tricky, because you don't realize that a lot of the things that you do are stimulated by fear. You can, even me as a person who is extremely ambitious, I am very goal oriented, okay? I didn't realize that a lot of that was coming from the fear of stability, fear of not being stable, fear of not having certain things. And so I'm operating at such a maximum level, but the root pushing that, the thing feeding that, was fear. So I understand this now because I've been in this process for so long, and my podcast episode just came out. We talked about surrendering the process, and by the time that you would actually hear that, it would have been about, I recorded that maybe 2 weeks ago because I kind of pre-record in advance, and I was talking about some of the things that I learned about surrendering and how I was just too hands-on in the process, not allowing things to unfold. So I was very open and vulnerable about my job hunt and search and how I was approaching it and what was going on. And I do have some good news though. Since then, since I caught myself in that moment and looking at what I was doing and kind of putting in different methods of approaching it, guess who is working now? Guess who has gone back to corporate America? Yes. And I'm like, I wish I had known this when I need, months ago. But at the same time, I can't take away the fact that I was breaking so many parts of my identity that I had attached onto myself that were not of me, that was not conducive to who I actually am. Fear, again, was driving a lot of things that was making me just spiral, y'all. I had moments where I was crying, I was completely sad, I was depressed. I had felt every emotion under the sun. I had felt unworthy, I felt unseen, I had felt abandoned, I had felt some of everything, and I have still had to hold it together and still go out and still have some hope and belief in myself that my situation and my circumstance was going to change. So the reason why I'm even talking about this today is because that was one of the outcomes that I was trying to force in my life. I was trying to force my way back into stability, and I knew I was forcing it because I was getting desperate. I was starting to just go anywhere, do anything, and the danger in that is not only would I not be satisfied with what I would have received, but I would have been right back in the loop of looking again and still like peddling, not feeling worthy, not feeling good enough, because I keep settling. And once you settle into a place that was never meant to hold you, that place can't see you, it can't identify with you, so it's gonna keep reminding you that I'm so sorry, I know that you're here, want to be appreciative about it, but I really, we don't vibe, I can't see you, I can't relate to you, so it's kind of hard for me to give you the accolades that you deserve. And so when you find yourself have planted in certain places like that out of your own fear and desperation because you're trying to make things change, it falls back on you. You start to feel like maybe it's me, maybe I'm the one, all of these things. But when it's never really you, it's just the environment and the place that you had pulled into your reality simply because of whatever it is that you felt at the time. Okay, girl. All right. Now, here are some important things that I do want you to think about, because this process was not easy. It was the most confusing, frustrating process that I've ever had to endure. I'm looking at all of the different things, and I've been studying this for so long, not just studying it, but I've been living it. I've been living how to attract things into your life and how to change your certain situations. But this time, this moment for me was the most difficult, because I went on a long streak of just bringing things into my life, and then I had to have a long sit down. That was frustrating. Didn't want to do that. But as I'm looking back over it and everything, there were a lot of things, like I was saying, that had to be broken off of me. But anywho, not to go back into that, I want to talk to you about this process so you can understand it for yourself. So one, here is what confused me the most. People say that you need to put out your intention, have it detailed, know exactly what it is that you want. Make your request out, and it comes back to you. Got it. There was a moment on this journey where I felt like that wasn't true, because I had put out exactly what I wanted. I was saying certain things, I was doing all of the things, and I felt like it still was not happening for me. Here's what I learned. It is very important that you do make your request known, and that you are very detailed as possible, but not for the reasons that you think. The reason why everything has to be so detailed and layered is so that, one, you can start to connect with the frequency of what that even feels like. As you're writing what it is, something that you really desire and that you want, with the details, that is when people are the most motivated, when they feel the most encouraged. They like just writing and connecting to their energy. That alone just makes you be like, all right, come on, let's go do this. I'm ready to go do it. But that's only the beginning. That's like the foundation of building a home. That's layering the bottom so that the bottom can hold everything else that's going to come on top of it. Here's where it gets tricky. Once you have written all of those things down in full detail and structured it all out, you then have to detach. You have to act as if it is already in your life, or it does not matter. Like, I'm okay whether this thing comes or whether this thing does not come. I'm okay. That is the hardest part, because who am I going to be lying to say that I don't want this to happen more? That'd be a big old lie. And I had to find ways to take my mind off of like fully romanticizing consistently to the point of now becoming depressed or discouraged because it has not happened yet. So I had to balance it. But here's the thing that they also don't tell you. The reason why you even do this too, outside of connecting to the frequency, is because there is a certain level of alignment that you're going to have to start connecting to. When you start to write out in detail what you want for your life, now you got to start looking at the life that you're living and seeing, how does the person that I am right now already match up to this? If you ain't in a match with it, that's what you start doing. Instead of looking and waiting for something to happen, you start working on yourself on a daily capacity to be able to start becoming this person. Because it is true, when you write these things down, they do attract to you, but they cannot attract to you in the state in which you do not have them, or which you feel that you do not have them. So instead of searching and forcing an outcome on something, there are certain things about yourself that you have to work on. For me personally, I had to start getting up early. I had to start going back to the gym. I had to start making sure that I was reading my Bible. I had to start making sure that I was making time for myself, that I was not just, I'm a workaholic. Let's start there. When I get into my creative process, baby, I will do that for 10 to 12 hours straight. And did nothing, like, for me, for myself. May nibble on a cracker here or there, but I'm really not taking care of myself. So I had to start practicing balance. And that is still an everyday process for me, okay? I have to still tap me on my shoulder and catch myself and say, okay, hey, you are not giving yourself the time and balance that you need. Balance out the energies. Don't put so much emphasis and focus on what you're trying to attract and bring into your life without making sure that you're the person that can hold it, okay? Because let's not, they don't talk about how you can attract certain things into your life, and then you don't, even, because I have before, you attract certain things into your life, but you're not the type of person that can even hold or maintain the thing that you have brought into your life. So now you're struggling to keep it. And so in that process of not seeing something fully formed in your life, there is a certain part of you that you got to be working on to make sure that you got the muscles. It's just like going to the gym. We getting ready for the marathon. We finna do a long stretch. But in order for us to be able to be on that stretch, and that stretch to really be productive and long, and we really gonna do it like we think we gonna do it, we got to train for it. We got to start getting ourselves equipped mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. Like, you want more money, but do you have a budget in place? When the money comes, do you know where that money is actually going to go? Do you have a place for it, or are you just waiting for the money to come? Because the money can come and go. As soon as it comes, it'll go, because you don't have a plan for it. You don't have a plan how to care for it, how to manage it, none of that. So there are certain habits, there are certain focuses, is that a word? Focus. There's a certain level of focus, let's say that. And there is a certain attention that is going to be required for you when the outcome that you're looking for does come. You got to be ready for that. That, whatever that means for you, whatever that looks like for you. Some people can wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, no struggle, and get it going. Some people can't, you know. I'm a 6 a.m. girly myself. 5 a.m. honey, I never been that. You know, maybe later on. Yeah, maybe later on. Because right now, I'm very much 6 a.m. 6 a.m., that's my max, okay? But anywho, now, being someone who attracts something into their life also goes into what your nervous system is already carrying. That's something that I learned in this process. I have been through a lot. We all know that, okay? And I would assume that you too have been through a lot. But what happens when you go through these different experiences, they get stored into your body. This is why you have back pain. This is why you have shoulder pain. This is why you do, you know, all this and all that, and it still feel like ain't nothing going on. You know what I'm saying? Your body is holding on to experiences, the moments where you were waiting on something, and you braced your body up. The body held on to that. The moment where you had a bad experience, or you had a bad outcome, and it really hurt and it really impacted you, the body carried that, it held that. And so now you're not realizing that a lot of reasons why certain things can't attract to you is because there is a memory on the inside of you that makes you subconsciously act a certain way. My experience, anger. I didn't know how angry I was. I have been through so much disappointment and rejection in my life till I was so freaking over it. Like, I'm over it. I'm mad, I'm angry, but you see how calm my demeanor is? Anger to me, I can take it there. But because my natural demeanor is so calm and so like flowy, a lot of times I don't even realize that if the anger don't just come out where I'm yelling and screaming and like you done really did it, I can really hold that anger in on the inside and it can just boil on me. But what ends up happening is I start to feel very fatigued. I feel very tired. I start losing my appetite. I start isolating myself from other people. Like, it's certain ways that the anger shows up, but I did not, that's because I was suppressing that anger. I was not allowing the anger to just come through full force because it's foreign to me. Like, I don't like when I'm angry, because when I get angry, I get heated, and that side of myself, I don't like it. So I have tried to suppress it for a lot of my life, and it became a habit. So suppressing my anger versus just allowing myself to feel it and be, you know, okay with having a crash out or two, it's been difficult for me to do that. But once I stopped suppressing my anger and just started letting it out, lately I've been letting it out. You hear me? I've been letting it out. If that means I gotta go break some, you know, I ain't hurting nobody. But if that means that I gotta go take me a little salsa plate and just slam it on that ground and hear that crack, something about that just soothes me. If I gotta go to a smash house, just break some stuff, I'm gonna do what I gotta do, okay? But the way that I actually did start releasing a lot of my anger was one, acknowledging that it was there. I was angry about some stuff that I didn't even know I was mad about. I knew that I felt some type of way about it, but I didn't have time to really sit down and just be mad. Like, okay, let's move on, because I'm gonna show you. I gotta show you attitude. Like, I'm gonna show you, you know, let's move on to the next thing. But not realizing that showing you only made me become bitter. So now anger has went up another notch, and that bitterness turned to resentment. So now we're up another notch, and now the nervous system is holding all of these different emotions on the inside of me that I'm not aware of, simply because I did not know how to express how angry that I was on the inside. Okay? And so one of the first things that I started doing is I started going back to the gym. In the gym, I'm doing all of the intense workouts, because whatever is trapped in my body that is there, that is not coming out, we finna burn it out. We finna sweat it out. I would yell, I would scream, not at the gym. Now, I would do my yelling and screaming outside the gym. Now, this is the second part. But I would yell, I would scream, I would have tantrums, I would do whatever it is that I needed to do to just like a child. I had to sit and think, when kids get angry, what do? They bust out in tears, they fall out on the floor. I had to think like this, because I'm like, there's a little girl on the inside of me that she don't know how to express this anger enough to release it. She's carried it for years. I'm not talking about somebody that made me angry and I fall out in the flow with them. That's not what I'm saying. I know how to move forward now because I'm aware that I've held anger. I'm talking about all of the anger that I've held up until this point that ain't been released, that is trapped in my body, that's preventing me from attracting different experiences, because I am truly angry on the inside. Regardless of all the I am calm, I am peace, I am happy affirmations that I'm spitting, I am lying, because I am angry on the inside. Oh, set my skin. Okay. But the nervous system, it keeps score. And so we could be trying to pull certain things into our life and bring certain things into our life, but there is an emotion that is on the inside of you that is trapped, that is stuck. Okay? And unfortunately, you can't see it, but it is there. And because it is there, it definitely has an impact on what you can and cannot bring in your life. And the more that you try to force an outcome, on top of having some buried emotions, the more confused that you will be, and the more confusion you will see in the process of you trying to attract something in. That's a big one that I had to learn. So I started to write down all of the emotions that I had been really feeling, and the root emotion was anger. And once I knew that, I started working towards the practices. Who's the Geico, y'all? I really hope he just stay right there. Once I got in the clear that I'm angry, I started doing different processes to be able to release it. Journaling was another one of them. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. I knew I was angry because I didn't even want to journal. I didn't want to write it down. I didn't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. But the moment that I allowed myself to just sit down and write, I immediately just started releasing certain emotions because one, I didn't even know I felt like that. Two, some things I swept so far under the rug that I had forgot that they happened. I forgot to circle back around and go and get that clean up. Forgot to do that. And so just doing that process and reminding myself like, dang, holding this for all this time really did have this effect on me, girl. And so just being able to sit with myself, write some things out, really just talk to myself, because really it's you versus you. You don't need to be mad at some of the stuff that you think you be mad at. You really be mad at something that you didn't address, okay? And so, yeah, that was it. I wrote some stuff down to just kind of keep myself mentally on track because I will go on a ranting tangent. But for anybody out there who is in a place of trying to attract differently into your life, it is absolutely possible. Trust me. I've been in a long season, and it's so crazy because in last, I don't know if it's this podcast that came or the week before, I just remember saying it because I was recording. I remember saying it, that my season was coming to an end. I did not have proof that it was coming to an end, but I could feel it. I could feel that it was starting to shift and change. But that shift and change also was happening internally within me, okay? And a lot of that was because I just had to release. You got to release some things, and sometimes, most times, you don't know what you're carrying because you don't really get a chance to process, especially now when you still have to be an adult and you still have to life and you still have to show up every day. You don't always get the process, but I'm telling you, take some time out for yourself, even if that means moving slower, not moving so fast, pacing yourself, showing yourself a lot more grace, being more understanding with yourself throughout the process. Because I will tell you that releasing, especially me releasing some of this anger, one of the biggest things it did was make me exhausted. I was so tired. I slept so much. Oh, my leg going to sleep. I slept so much that I'm like, what's wrong with me? I had to drink more fluids. I had to drink a lot of Powerade and Gatorade electrolytes. Like, my appetite will be up and down. One moment I'm hungry, the next moment I just want something really light. Like, there's a lot of changes that happens when the body is releasing as well. So you do have to be graceful with yourself and understanding, like, ain't nothing wrong with me. This is the process. I am releasing. I am healing. I'm becoming a new person. And, you know, cheers to becoming a new person. But, yep, if you haven't already, make sure you check out this week's podcast episode. Every Wednesday at 11:11 a.m. I'm dropping you with information on my process as well as things that I'm learning throughout this journey. It takes a village, not only for these kids, but it takes a village for us too. I am learning that every day, okay? So until next time.